Let's go ahead and introduce Cynthia. Cynthia, you made it. Did you make it, or are you on your way still?
I'm still on my way. It's been a treacherous commute, but braved the commuters, the sleet, the snow, the closed down I-15 to be almost back to Orange County.
Well, all right. That's a good thing, I think. So, did you have a good time?
Well, I had a wonderful time. My family out in a beautiful community of outside Las Vegas called Summerlin, and we
Summerlin,
celebrated.
that's over on the west side.
Exactly, and we celebrated Christmas and Christmas Eve and saw beautiful decorations at the Wynn Hotel and Caesars and ate some good meals. And
now you're talking. You know, that I am definitely equipped to talk about good meals. Actually, I'm equipped to talk about any meals, but I do prefer good ones.
Well, we had multiple good meals, so I'm happy to share those with you.
Well, all right, let's go. So but coming back, I mean, I guess that was no real surprise, though, was it, with the traffic?
You know, it wasn't, but it was awfully slow. So
is it still 2 lanes coming out of between State Line and I think they?
No, it's opened up,
now.
But it's heavy traffic.
Yeah. And when it snows out and whatever, because I used to have like up to 4 different offices in Las Vegas, I would take the road to Nipton. Do you know Nipton?
Okay. I've seen that road.
It's a real neat little village with a little motel. And Kathleen, who was the old movie star that used to go there regularly from the silent era? I forgot who, but you can help. Kathleen, you can look it up real quick. Nipton. You take that road and then down through the Tonopah Valley, and then you can, whatever. Too late now, but next time. And it's real pretty, too. So it's the way that the train goes. You go next to the train tracks, and the train tracks always stay in the low ground if they can help it. So
interesting.
So what have you got that's new? And then we'll get back to New Year's. But what is new with you? And tell us about you again. And who?
Oh, I worked with.
Clara Bow used to stay there all the time. Bow. So it was before there was a Las Vegas. But as far as being able to get to on the train, and sometimes I see freight train operators when they're there, they stop their freight train and get off and pick up some candy bars and then go on. But yeah, so they could drop off Sarah Bow. But tell us about your business, and then tell us about all the new things you're doing, and I will keep my mouth shut until I have to.
Okay. Well, I am Cynthia Sender, and I was a previous guest on your radio program.
A repeat offender, yes.
I'm a repeat offender, and I enjoyed it so much I'm back, repeating the offense.
Okay.
And I represent a company called Care Assist Services, and I'm a gerontologist by training. So we deal with in-home care, usually for the elderly, but it can be anybody who needs some extra help at home.
Yeah, I have some education in old stuff too, but I didn't go to school for it. It comes natural when you get 120 years old.
You'll see. It comes natural.
You got a long way to go, but you'll see.
I'm working on that degree, but my formal degree I earned at USC. There's actually a school of gerontology where you can learn about the study of aging, and so that is how I began working with the elderly, by studying through this very special program. And I work very closely and particularly we work with assisted living facilities and board and care homes and rehab hospitals and hospitals when people are moving from one type of care to another. Either they're being discharged or they still need help in the setting they're in. and then they go home and they need help to continue
At
living
home, yeah.
independently. So that's
Yeah,
the kind of
you
work
find
we
most
do.
people like to stay home, right?
You know,
If they can.
I believe that it's something like 95% who've been surveyed, if they have the choice, would rather be at home.
Yeah.
If they can sustain that, that is where they'd like to be as they age and until the end, if that works out for them. So we help people do that.
So before I said I wasn't going to break in, but I'll just break in long enough for you to remind you to give your contact information now, and then you'll give it again a little bit later.
Sure. So our direct line is 949-276-8413, and that is our Care Assist Services office phone number. And our office is located in South Orange County, but we travel throughout the county and beyond to help our clients. So we can even go into parts of LA County and Riverside, adjoining areas.
Yeah, well, we got a lot of listeners in Riverside, San Bernardino, and everywhere else. So, and so all of that is good. And I think most of the listeners either know somebody that's old or will get old. And I like to say you need to talk to people like Cynthia now, so that you need to interview people now that you may, not absolutely, but if you may need somebody in the future, call people like Cynthia now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. What we like to do is we initiate the conversation really through what we call an in-home assessment. So the family gets together with the person who needs care, and either I or our founder, Janice, who's a nurse, will come out and do the assessment, and it's very prescribed set of questions that we ask, and we make observations and notes. And from that, we can determine what type of care would be best. And if it's not through us, we would recommend alternative solutions as well. So we can be the kind of the first stop somebody makes when they're not sure what they need to do to, take the next step if they have a question about the next step.
Well, there's always a next step out there. And, we may not want to come to it as quickly as now, but we have relatives, friends, and other people too. So we don't want to leave them out either. We need to think about them when considering calling you.
Exactly. And another thing we like to do is we like to educate. So we do some public speaking. We participate in community group events, churches, and synagogues and community centers that have a desire to learn more about the different senior services that are available and the costs associated with those services. So I'm always happy to be a speaker if anybody is looking for specific knowledge on the topic.
Yes.
And that's a good way to get to it. That's a good way to inform people.
I'd love to do that kind of thing. Now, did I meet you through Randy way back when?
I met you through, I believe it was Randy, yes.
Yeah. And Randy called in not too long ago to wish everybody and us a Happy New Year.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So we don't forget him in these, as much as I'd like to, we don't. No, sorry. So, yeah, go ahead. And, what do you think, unless you've got something else, let me just ask, is there kind of an age where, let's say somebody feels they're completely 100% healthy and they'll never get sick? Is there an age where they should start collecting information and calling you? Because by calling you, it's just collecting information, first step, right?
Sure. I think anybody who's approaching, somewhere in their early to mid 80s, it is usually the point where we start to see something has occurred. There's either a surgery, a fall, something changes usually when a person approaches that age range.
Yeah.
If it
but I'm thinking they
happened.
should call you before that. They should call, several different types of things, so they have those numbers handy. They've already talked to you. They already know you to trust you, and that kind of thing.
Well, that's a good point. So that's another reason why we try to educate the public, because a lot of times the public is not thinking about it until they learn, and then they realize they don't know all the things that they should know. So a lot of times the people we first hear from are the adult son or daughter of the person who's growing old. And
Yeah,
that
right.
oftentimes, so a lot of times it's middle-aged people who are contacting me. It's people in their 40s, 50s, 60s who are starting to have concerns about their elderly parents.
Right.
Or spouse. It can be a spouse calling, but usually it seems to be a younger family member.
Because sometimes the oldie, I can say that because I are one, they don't want to consider themselves having a problem, even though they are.
Yes,
I'm
there's a
sure you
lot of
must come
denial.
across that from time to
There's
time.
a lot of denial. A lot of people believe sort of falsely that if they pretend they don't have any deficiencies, then they can kind of continue. But the truth is, if you get a little bit of help when you need it, and you can actually be safer in your home environment and prolong your healthy lifestyle. So I think people are caught up in this idea that if they need help, then somehow they're deficient. But in reality, getting a little bit of help will promote independence.
Yeah, true. Yeah, because I just now thought of it that if when you get help, what's the first thing that came to my mind is I just lost my independence. That's not true, is it?
Well, here's an interesting, I would say, kind of a note. A lot of people need help initially because they can't drive. They either can't drive because they've had a surgery or there's some medication involved or they've been diagnosed with some condition where they're not able to drive. So that would be the first step for a lot of people to get help, somebody to come in and drive them to appointments or to their senior center or meet with their friends. So that's a common occurrence, and it's really easily handled with a companion caregiver who
Uh-huh.
drives. They all drive. They all have background check, background screening, insurance, bonding, driving records. So these are all the things that we bring to the table to assist families with.
That's you stop and think. I'm thinking. I'm taking my time here because I'm thinking about all these things and how they relate to me and people I know. And I have friends that are even older than me, and they're still alive. Bruce, are you out there listening? And I know none of us want to think about things like this, but we have to. And then sometimes you get a fall or something or a health condition, and all of a sudden, even if you're in your 20s, but we're concentrating on older people, you have to look at this. And whether you are 25 or 85, you do want to keep as much of your own independence, as much as make as many of your own choices as possible, and enjoy yourself as much as you can. And getting help doesn't mean you're losing those choices. It means you're
Well, actually,
probably prolonging more choices than not.
exactly. Well, I think what it actually means is you're making the decisions for yourself rather than waiting for some calamity to dictate a decision.
Right.
Because the minute when you wait too long, then your children might be making the decision, or your spouse, or your nephew, or your neighbor. And in fact, you can be the one who's proactive, deciding how do you want to handle these things as they come about, if they come about.
Right, because when you get help doing something, at least you're getting help doing what you want to do. Once you're beyond having that kind of help, then you don't do what you want to do anymore.
Exactly. So
So,
feel
we
it's
need
better
to.
to
So
be
you already
armed
kind of
with
gave
the
us
right
the
decision.
average age kind of people you help or with, and we know pretty much the areas that you're in. I would say, go ahead and tell us again how to get a hold of you, and then anything else that you may think is important. I can think of so much that's important, but I want you to take it away.
Okay. So again, Cynthia Sender with Care Assist Services, and our direct office number is 949-276-8413, and we handle all types of care at home, and in fact, we are leaders in the field of dementia care at home, which is a little bit different.
We never even talked about that, did we? We take it for granted, but I wasn't thinking. I was thinking of physical, but that leads to everything else that's physical, doesn't it?
Well, what's interesting about dementia care is when a person is diagnosed initially, they're usually in between the mild to moderate stage of dementia, and most of that deficiency they're seeing, the cognitive deficiency, we can help by bringing care at home, and it's very suitable for that person to remain at home where they have the familiarity around them, their family, their things, their own room, their community, and that there are many studies that show that that is the ideal place to be when you suffer from dementia, because you can still be connected to those things that you know. So when people think about dementia care, a lot of times they're imagining being sent away to a facility, but that is not necessarily how it has to be. So again, learning about the options sooner rather than later is key, and also choosing the right company who has a deep understanding and skill set to provide that care at home, which means extra training of caregivers and staff. Because it is a little bit different type of care. Dementia care is a little bit different than just physical care.
Now, speaking of that dementia and that, well, first of all, I think that younger people or the children, caregivers or whatever, really need to understand what to do when their parents or whatever have a problem. I don't think most of them do. I think most of them still argue with the older people about, the pink elephant that's flying in the room or the green whatever. And that's not the right thing to do, is it?
Well, it's always a tough discussion, and it's a tough talk to have, but it is something that doesn't need to be addressed. And I think you alluded to this earlier. Addressing it sooner rather than when it's a crisis will take the emotion out of the discussion. Talking about how a person would like to be cared for way before there is an immediate need or crisis would be ideal. And bringing in professionals who understand all the different issues to consider is a good way to neutralize that discussion.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe someday or whatever, maybe put on classes for children how to deal with parents with dementia. And another thing I was thinking about was sometimes a family will have a caregiver right there. They're one of their family members, one of the children, or a spouse, or something like that. Those people need a day off now and then, right?
Exactly. That's another great point. So we call that respite care. It's giving the primary caregiver respite from the strain of being the constant caregiver.
Because that's really, if you're doing it properly, it's a full-time job.
It is.
So, you shouldn't be thinking you can go to work or work 3 days a week or work during the day and then help mom out at night. It doesn't work that way.
Correct. And it's also it's physically and emotionally draining. So a person who's providing that support really does need that break, whether it be the weekends off or certain nights of the week off, to attend to their own families and their own needs.
Yeah. And if they can't get their own needs done, they're not going to be there for those that help them. Like when you're in an aircraft and they show you to put the oxygen mask on your face first, because without you, your children have nobody to take care of them. So
exactly. Well, there's another interesting phenomenon, and that is that the daughter, let's just say it's a daughter providing care, that the daughter can be the daughter and the caregiver can provide the care. So those lines and those roles become very blurry when the family becomes the complete caregiving support system.
And I don't want to bring up too much negative, but I would assume that if the daughter or the son become too much of a caregiver, they kind of move away from being the son or daughter in feeling anyway.
And they become resentful because they can't do the things they need to do with whether it be career or their own children. Something will suffer in the process. So it's good to bring in professional support and allow that.
We have 1 minute. But so I'm sorry you had to be only on the phone instead of seen. So we'll reschedule you, okay?
Sounds wonderful.
So
I look forward to that.
let's talk about that because we can do it then in a more formal. You know how formal we are around here.
I love the formal.
But I want to wish everybody a happy New Year, and you too, Cynthia, of course.
Happy New Year.
Anybody you want to wish a Happy New Year to? Go right ahead.
Well, I wish Happy New Year to all of our wonderful clients that we serve at Care Assist Services and their families. A Happy New Year.
And I should sign off with my favorite joke of the year from I Get No Respect. When I was young, I had a lot of pimples. I remember one day I fell asleep in the library and woke up later to find a blind man reading my face. At least I said it straightforward that time without breaking up first time. Thank you, Rodney. Thank you so much, Sean, Cynthia. Sean, Happy New Year. And everybody else out there, thank you so much for a great year, and let's look forward to the next. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.